Today we are going to make beef tamales. The way that we are going to do this is relatively easy, and it's a perfect way for you to make tamales in small batches when you don't have 100 tamales to make. So right off the bat, I've got water that I'm bringing up to a boil, and that is what we are going to put our corn husks in. And then while that is heating up, we are going to begin to brown our beef. I'm using chuck roast in particular. I also am throwing in some short ribs just because I had that laying around in the freezer. The recipe below will be linked for strictly chuck roast, but like I said, I just had them and I said to myself, hey, let's go ahead and use them. So that's what we're gonna do. First off, I'm gonna go in with a little bit of beef tallow. That is going to just help start the browning process faster. All right, we're gonna go ahead and put our beef into our pan. You don't wanna overcrowd too much. When it comes to browning on this meat, I'm not looking for a super hard crust. Just a nice golden brown. Make sure you get all sides. That's all we're looking for. We have finished browning off our chuck roast. If you want to skip the browning step, you can, and just pick up from where we are now. If you were not going to brown your chuck roast, cut your meat into pieces, salt, pepper, put it into your pressure cooker. I did not salt and pepper prior. I don't want the pepper to burn. So I'm just gonna add some salt and pepper once we throw it into the pressure cooker. So I'm gonna go ahead, throw in the meat, the little juices in there. I'm gonna take some salt. Go a little heavy on the salt, black pepper. Just gonna mix this stuff up, get it all coated up. I'm gonna go ahead and add some water. We're gonna close this bad boy. We're gonna put it on high and we're gonna check back in with you when it's done. We've just put the meat into the pressure cooker on high. At the same time, the water has come up to a boil. We are going to pour the water over our corn husks and allow it to sit. If you want, you can go ahead and put some plates or something on top of your corn husks to keep them submerged or just kind of keep pushing them. We are gonna allow these corn husks just to sit and soften to become pliable so they don't crack and break and tear when we work with them. So we're just gonna basically set this aside and we'll come back to that eventually. It is now time to make that delicious red sauce that we're gonna lather up that shredded beef with when that's finished cooking. I am using two kinds of chilies. I'm using California chilies and I'm using Guajillo chilies. They look very similar, but they are different. You can go ahead and use whatever your preference is. This is my preference. I like sweet, smoky sauce. So that's what we're gonna do. First off, you need to get the seeds out of your chilies. Do this over a bowl, make your life easy. It is good to use gloves while you're doing this so these oils don't get into your skin and then burn your face when you touch your face later. But we've now de-seeded all of these dry chilies. We're gonna go ahead and just rinse them under water and then we're gonna start the process. Our chilies are gonna be in the bowl that we are gonna simmer them in. I'm going to basically just do a rough chop on some white onion or yellow onion, your preference, not a huge difference. A couple garlic cloves, throw those on in. Mexican oregano, cumin, bay leaf, a little bit of pepper, some salt. I'm gonna take water, just enough water to cover your chilies. That's all you need. Get that on the stove and at a very low simmer for about 20 minutes. Our chilies are softened. We are gonna move everything to the blender. To this, we are gonna add just a little splash of the water that we had in the pot. You could always add more later. I don't want it too runny. We're gonna start off by pulsing. All right, we've got this blended up. This color is beautiful. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm going in with a little bit of honey. In my opinion, these chilies have a little bit of bitterness behind them, And so it really cleans out the flavor, if that makes sense, when you add the honey to it. You could add a little sugar if you want. I prefer honey. We're gonna blend this up again. Take a taste. It really just balances everything. It makes a huge difference by adding that honey. Let's get this poured into our pan. If you want to strain this, you can. I'm not really worried about it. I blended it up for about a solid minute. And then when I added the honey, it was just a really quick blend. This color is absolutely beautiful. Now we're just gonna set this aside and wait for our beef to be ready. 1 hour later, our pressure cooker's done. Ooh, it's hot. Want this meat just falling apart. There we go. Tender. Takes almost no energy to pull this apart. Our beef is out. I'm just gonna set this aside, allow this to cool a little bit before I start shredding it apart. Now that the beef is out of the stock that we cooked it in, I'm gonna go ahead and strain this liquid, and this is the liquid that I'm gonna use when I make the masa. It is now time to make that most important part of your tamale, and that is the masa. We are gonna start out with pork lard. You can use vegetable shortening if you'd like. This lard is from the pig that we butchered a couple weeks ago. There's video for that if that's something you're interested in. But we're gonna add this to the mixer. You're gonna let that go. You want that to get really airy before we add the rest of our ingredients. So this will take some time. Let it run for probably about 8 to 10 minutes. 10 minutes later, this is what our lard is gonna look like. It's almost like a beautiful fat frosting. Delish. Here I have the liquid that I used to pressure cook the beef with. When I strain it, and then I go ahead and I put some ice cubes in there to allow it to cool, so that way that fat solidifies faster, so I could skim that fat off of there. It's an amazing trick. It does not change your stock very much by adding the ice. It cools it really fast, and you're able to just skim off the fat. Obviously the ice cubes are gonna melt a little bit, so go ahead and just continue adding more as you go, and you will see, you'll basically see what happens, and go ahead and just remove that fat. Since it was pressure cooked, it is also more of a concentrated liquid. So I have water that I'm going to add as well. If this is not something you want to do, by all means, you could just use beef stock, chicken stock that you just purchased at the store. I've got my masa, baking powder, a little salt. Another thing to mention, that if you use the ice cube trick, your stock is obviously going to become cool, pretty cold. This beautiful room temperature whipped lard, or shortening, whatever you use, if you're gonna put that cold water in there, it's gonna solidify that, and you're gonna have a problem. So make sure that if you do use the ice method, that you do go ahead and warm up your stock again. It doesn't need to be boiling, it needs to be warm, at least a solid room temperature. We now are gonna begin adding the ingredients to our lard. Same time, you want to add a little bit of your liquid. If you have a big bowl, you could mix your baking soda, your salt, and your masa all together. I used the big bowl earlier, so it's taken. So I'm just adding a little bit of everything at a time in order to, like I said, in order to make this a little bit faster for you. You could have just mixed everything together, but except for your stock, keep your stock separate. You want to add that slowly throughout. Scrape down my sides. Okay, at this point, you want this to mix. Let it mix for another 10 to 15 minutes. I forgot to mention that if you want to go ahead and make a beautiful red color to your masa, you could take some of the sauce a little bit at a time and add that to the masa while it's mixing as well. It'll make for a beautiful color and add some of that flavor to your masa. I personally I'm not going to do that. I like to have a distinct corn flavor mixed with the chili flavor on the inside. But if you want something that's beautiful, a beautiful tint to your masa, take some of that chili sauce that we made earlier and add it to here. So when you think your masa is about done, You just want to take a little bit of it and go ahead and drop it into some water. Beautiful. That's what we are looking for. So it means we are ready to continue on with our tamale making process. Masa is done. We have the beef we cooked earlier. I shredded it, and now I'm just going to pour it right into this chili sauce. It's time to build these beautiful tamales. So I went ahead, I grabbed a handful of these corn husks that we had soaking since the beginning, and we're gonna start filling these. There are two sides to a corn husk. One is rough and has these ridges on it, and the other one is smooth. You want the ridge side down. I personally use a dough scraper. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but that's what I'm gonna use. I'm gonna come here and we wanna go about 3/4 of the way down. Grab some meat, put that in the middle. I personally like more meat than I do masa. That's me, so I like to keep it thinner on the masa side and more meat. At this point, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it. So you're gonna come across, you're gonna go 1, tuck it, 2, bend here, and you're gonna fold over, like so. I'm going to steam these in a pressure cooker. So I got my basket. I'm just gonna put this there for now and get this out of the way. Okay, beautiful thing, you just scrape this up. That's why I like these. And we're gonna do it again. Ridges to the bottom, grab some masa, about a little past halfway, 3/4 or so. Rub it down. If you think you need a little bit more, just grab a little bit more. I'm good with that. I'm gonna come here again, more meat. Fold once, fold twice, bend at the bottom, up towards you, looks beautiful. And we're just gonna go ahead and layer that in there. All right, so for the bottom of our pressure cooker, I forgot to say that, I'm gonna go ahead and cut some of these corn husks, and I'm just gonna lay them down at the bottom. There's always little small husks in the bag. This is perfect for that. So we've finished with our first batch of tamales. There's 19 here. Still have masa, still have meat. I put just a little bit less than 1/4 cup of water into the pressure cooker. We're gonna go ahead and put these bad boys on in. I'm just gonna take one husk, put it right on top, just like so. We're gonna pressure cook for 25 minutes, and then we are gonna allow the steam to naturally come out for another 10 to 15 minutes. Don't just open it up. Right, tamales are done. Ooh. They smell delish. How you know that your tamales are done is when your masa separates from the corn husk when you start peeling it back. It's already coming off. So yeah, it's just releasing itself. Like this, beautiful. Give this a try. Ooh, I'm going in. Okay, that is good. This is a must make. The masa is soft. The meat is tender. The sauce is just, it's like meant to be there. This is phenomenal. I am really glad I took the time to make this. Wow. I'm just gonna keep eating. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a blessed day. If you like this video, please hit that subscribe button. It helps us out tremendously. Thanks again. This is fantastic. Yeah. Yes.